playing field of the platform, sports, monopoly capital, and the new enclosure of leisure. In the current climate of sports consolidation, one thing is clear: there is enormous and growing value in the ownership of sports teams, leagues, and increasingly the rights to stream their games. As more people abandon terrestrial television and radio, direct to consumer streaming platforms have become the primary means of engagement with athletics. This shift is not merely technological, it is a structural transformation of the sports economy, one that mirrors broader trends in monopoly capitalism. The rise of name, image, and likeness rights in college sports, coupled with legalized gambling, has turbocharged the commodification of athletics. No longer just games, sports have become vertically integrated profit engines where the athlete is both labor and brand, the fan is both consumer and data point, and the event is both entertainment and speculative asset. Under these conditions, mergers and acquisitions are not just business strategy, they are the dominant mode of survival for media capital. What is often missed in the breathless coverage of these deals is that sports serve a dual function in late capitalism. They are a tribal, communal ritual, offering a sense of belonging in an atomized society, and they are a perfectly engineered platform for the extraction of surplus value from leisure. Streaming technology allows for unprecedented levels of surveillance. Platforms can measure every second of attention, every click, every moment of hesitation. In the middle of a game, the software can not only target you with ads, but also nudge you toward micro bets, push you to buy merchandise, or feed you curated fantasy sports recommendations. Your fandom becomes a revenue stream that never sleeps. The recent ESPN deal to acquire the NFL network, the NFL's Red Zone channel, and its fantasy football platform represents a decisive moment in this process. In exchange, the NFL receives a 10% equity stake in ESPN. This is more than a content sharing agreement, it is a structural merger of league and distributor. By August 2025, ESPN will launch its flagship direct to consumer service, offering all its linear channels, ESPN, ESPN2, ESPN Deportes, and more direct to consumers, bypassing cable entirely. This shift consolidates sports viewing under a handful of corporate gatekeepers. Once, the NFL's media assets were dispersed across different platforms, ensuring at least some level of competition. Now, a single corporate entity already owned by Disney will hold the keys to one of the most valuable sports products on earth. The logic is straightforward. Fewer players in the market means more pricing power, both over consumers and over advertisers. This is the old cable bundle reborn as streaming. To get the games you want, you'll have to buy access to a corporate super platform loaded with content you didn't ask for at a price set without meaningful competition. From a Marxist perspective, this is a textbook case of enclosure, not of land, but of leisure. Just as the capitalist class once enclosed the commons to force peasants into wage labor, today's media monopolies enclose the cultural commons to force us into commodified forms of recreation. Sports were once accessible through public airwaves and local radio. Even cable's rise in the 1980s left some games free to watch, but under monopoly capital, the free game is disappearing. Every interaction is routed through a proprietary platform where your data and attention are extracted as surplus value. The NFL ESPN deal also signals a deeper integration between the productive and circulatory arms of sports capital. The NFL produces the commodity, the game, but now it also holds a stake in its primary means of distribution. This tightens the circuit of capital, reducing leakage and ensuring that more value stays within the same corporate system. From the standpoint of monopoly theory, This is the rational outcome of mature capitalism. Capital concentrates, integrates, and centralizes to maintain profitability in a saturated market. The merger's biggest implications may not be in price, but in data. A single platform controlling the majority of high value sports content can integrate behavioral tracking, microtransactional betting, NIL promotions, and even biometric data from wearables into one seamless profit machine. Legalized sports gambling is especially potent here. What was once a separate vice industry is now fused with the game itself, normalized through broadcast integration. The fan is transformed into an always on bettor, their emotional highs and lows carefully harvested for profit. This is sports as platform capitalism, a continuous extraction process where your viewing is merely the hook. In Marxist terms, the fan is no longer just a consumer of sports, they are also an unwaged co producer of value. Every view, share, and online discussion generates free advertising. Every fantasy league stat, every bet, every social media highlight clip is unpaid labor for the platform. This is where NIL rights and influencer culture dovetail with streaming monopolies. Athletes market themselves, fans market the athletes, the platform markets both, and captures the revenue at every point in the chain. It is a self contained ecosystem of commodification where social relations are mediated entirely by the exchange of value. Some might shrug and say, it's just sports. But sports are among the few remaining mass cultural experiences in the United States, one of the last venues where people still gather in public space, physical or virtual, around a shared event. Control over that space is not culturally neutral, it is political economy in motion. When a handful of corporations control access to these experiences, they don't just dictate price, they dictate the conditions under which we gather, the terms of our collective rituals. They can exclude, surveil, and commodify at will. And because sports are tied so deeply to identity, loyalty, and even local pride, fans are more likely to accept these terms than they might for other cultural products. For the left, this raises urgent questions. How can we defend public access to mass culture in an age of platform monopoly? Can we imagine a public option for sports broadcasting? What does solidarity look like when fandom itself has been subsumed under capital's logic? The ESPN NFL merger is not just a sports business story, it is a microcosm of the capitalist economy's current phase. It shows how capital, faced with stagnating growth and an oversaturated media market, turns to consolidation, vertical integration, and intensified data exploitation to maintain profitability. This is not inevitable, but it will require more than consumer choice to resist it. It will require a politics that treats culture and leisure as social goods, not as private fiefdoms. Until then, the playing field is owned by the platform, and the rest of us are just paying to be in the stands while they mine us for every penny we're worth.